The Indiana Fever just lost Justine Passat to the Las Vegas Aces, and forget what her signing. It's official now. Chloe Peterson just put out that the Indiana Fever will not be countering the offer from the Aces. They're letting her walk so they can keep Dantes.
Watch that response once again. That goes beyond simple disappointment. The Indiana Fever just let a 6 feet 4 inches shooter with a 7-foot wingspan walk directly to the reigning champions for free, which is utterly disgusting and makes no basketball sense. And perhaps the most annoying aspect of this whole narrative is the reason why Justina Paris is no longer with them. On January 14th, 2025, the Las Vegas Aces filed an offer sheet. The Fever had 24 hours to match it by moving her from their developmental roster to a regular contract. Indiana rejected it. According to Chloe Peterson's report on the WNBA Transactions website, in order to retain Damaris Danas, a 32-year-old center who averaged 3 points and 1 rebound throughout the playoffs, they're letting her go. Take a moment to consider it. The club that just elected the most explosive passer in women's basketball history chose not to develop a young 3-point specialist who could open the floor for Caitlin Clark, preferring to hold on to a seasoned player who seldom plays. This is not only a poor choice. Organizational malpractice is what this is. If you appreciate this content, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Believe it or not, more than 83% of viewers haven't subscribed yet. It's free and only takes a second, but it means the world to us. So, did you subscribe already? Great. Thank you so much for your support. Now back to the video.
This was from Chloe Peterson. Per the WNBA Transactions page, the Las Vegas Aces have tendered an offer sheet to the Fever developmental player Justine Passat. The Fever had 24 hours to respond, putting her on a standard roster. But then she just put this up. I'm told, per league sources, the Fever will not be countering Passat's offer sheet from the Aces. This is crazy. Y'all just let the world champs pick up a 6'4" sniper, a 6'4" shooter with a 7-foot wingspan.
For lovers of Fever, this is even more agonizing. Throughout the whole season, they have been yelling for just this kind of player. Watch any Indiana game from the previous season. The experts discuss the same issue in every broadcast. There's no floor space on this team. Defenses do not respect Indiana's perimeter shooting, which is why Caitlin Clark is being triple-teamed in the paint. The alley is crowded. They challenge role players to defeat them from 3, and they succeed. Pistoff resolved that issue just in time. She is not an undersized guard who is pursued on defense. At 6 feet 4 inches, she can pull up from a distance of 25 feet and has a 7-foot wingspan, which makes her disruptive on the defensive end. Next to a player like Clark, it is precisely the profile you need. You need someone who punishes help defense rotations, opens up driving lanes, and pulls their defender out to the 3-point line. That player was part of the Fever's developing roster. At any time throughout the season, they might have given her a promotion. They decided against it. Instead of the $700 per week Indiana was paying her, she is now earning $150,000 for the remainder of the season while wearing an A's outfit.
Passat, congratulations. She'll be making $150,000 for the rest of the season rather than the $700 a week from the Indiana Fever. And she's going to get a chance to actually play for this team. She's going to get a shot to play. Justine Passat just left the Fever for the Aces, dog. They decided to keep Damaris Dantes, man. They decided to keep Damaris Dantes, y'all. We let her walk.
However, here is where the narrative truly sheds light on the workings of the Fever front office. During the preseason, Justine Passat made it quite evident that she had no desire to be on a developmental contract for an extended period of time. She wanted a berth on the actual roster. She desired a chance to demonstrate her abilities in real games. And how did Indiana use that knowledge? Nothing at all. Only one preseason game versus the New York Liberty included her. She lost 10 points after only 3 minutes of play. She was demonstrating the precise type of offensive mobility that contemporary basketball requires by pulling up from deep and moving without the ball. She did not return to the court during the preseason after that. In every other exhibition game, hardly a minute. Why? Because the Fever were attempting to conceal her. Take a moment to consider that tactic. You have a young athlete who is obviously gifted enough to make an impact in the WNBA. Additionally, you purposefully keep her off the floor so other teams would not notice her rather than displaying her to increase trade value or incorporating her into your rotation. That may be the most archaic approach to roster management, and it backfired terribly. Still, the Aces took note. They completed their assignments. They recognized the possibilities, and as soon as they could, they jumped in with an offer sheet. Indiana now just has another example of organizational failure to show for it.
Justine Passat, a 6'4" young sniper with a 7-foot wingspan. They let her walk for Damiris old ass I can't play no more Dantas. 3 points and a rebound a game. Like, come on, man. You can't be serious. You got this, bro. This organization is a joke. Justine Passat, and she let it be known earlier in the season that she wasn't looking to stay on a developmental contract. She wanted out of the developmental spot. She did not want that. She said, "I'm not settling for a developmental spot. I want a real roster spot." She let that be known from beginning of the season. The Indiana Fever did nothing. They kept Damiris Dantas, bro.
This is when the choice shifts from dubious to utterly unsupportable. So, let's discuss what the Fever are really maintaining in place of peace hours. The age of Damiris Dantas is 32. Since 2012, she has participated in the league. Yes, she is a seasoned presence. But what does she really bring to court? Dantas averaged 3 points and 1 rebound per game throughout the 2024 playoffs. 1 and 3. The Indiana Fever determined that those figures were more important than cultivating a young shooter who would be a great match for their team's cornerstone. Furthermore, Dantas is not playing a lot of minutes in order to get such numbers. She sometimes gets spot minutes, usually during garbage time or when the rotation is having foul issues. The justification for retaining veterans often focuses on their leadership and postseason experience. All right. When the Fever were swept in the first round, what leadership did Dantas offer? What kind of playoff experience resulted in victories? At some point, you have to admit that teams remain average forever by retaining older players only for the sake of having a veteran presence. And this is what Fever fans should be afraid of. This is not a singular occurrence. There is a trend here. Take a look at how they handled the incident with Kelsey Mitchell. Examine their preliminary plan. Take a look at the coaches they hired. This management administration consistently makes choices that imply they either do not care about creating a championship contender around Caitlin Clark, or they do not understand contemporary basketball.
Amber Cox, I can't say I'm surprised. And I told you guys earlier in the playoffs, when she played in that preseason game, earlier in the preseason, when she played in that one preseason game versus the New York Liberty, the girl had 10 points in 3 minutes. She was pulling up from deep, and then she never played in any preseason action after that. I told y'all they were trying to hide her. I told y'all they were trying to hide Justine Passat because somebody would come and take her, and Justine Passat is officially gone. Justine Passat is officially gone off the roster.
Because that is what this all boils down to. Do the Indiana Fever want to develop a squad that will make the most of Caitlin Clark's generational skill, or are they merely creating a team with Caitlin Clark on it? These two strategies vary greatly, and everything about the Isomite ruling points to the latter. Consider what Clark excels at. She is among the best passers in women's basketball history. In transition, she is able to thread needles. She can locate shooters in the corner off the drive and kick, and she can hit cutters without looking. However, having shooters to kick to is necessary for all of that. Players who can penalize defenses for collapsing on her drives are necessary. That is precisely the kind of player that just eyes. She may be successful without holding the ball in her hands. She is able to move to available locations. She has the size to finish through contact if defenders close out too forcefully, and she can fire off the grab. For a point guard like Clark, it is the ideal complementary element. Rather, the Fever's lineups include a number of non-shooters who clutter the paint, making it simple for defenses to load up on Clark, making it more difficult for their top player to perform. And when you bring this up, the front desk just says, trust the process. We are skilled at what we do. However, the findings indicate otherwise.
I mean, whatever, man. This team is a clown show. This team is a joke. And it just is what it is, man. It is what it is, man. Justine Passat, go have a time in Vegas with the Aces. You're going to have opportunity to win a world title. You're going to get to play with Asia Wilson, who'll probably be the MVP. And you get to get away from this Stephanie White clown show. You get to get away from this Stephanie White clown show. That is the Indiana Fever. It's ridiculous.
Justine Paisu is entering an ideal scenario in Las Vegas. So let's discuss what comes next. In 2022 and 2023, the Aces won consecutive titles. They have A'ja Wilson, who is certain to get her third MVP honor. Their coaching staff is among the finest in the league. Their front staff is really knowledgeable about roster building. Additionally, they are now acquiring a 6 feet 4 inches shooter who can give depth behind their main players and spread the floor. Paisu will play significant minutes in important games. Veterans at the championship level will teach her. She will hone her skills in a system that really prioritizes player growth and three-point shooting. The Fever, meanwhile, will have the same team that was swept in the first round. I wonder why they cannot advance as a franchise and hope Caitlin Clark may lead them to importance via sheer individual genius. If you are a fan who really cares about winning, it is frustrating to watch. Paisu will become a rotation player for the Aces. They will set her up for success. And when she is a real asset on a winning club in 2 or 3 years, Fever supporters will remember January 2025 as the day their front staff opted for mediocrity over ambition.
And all we talk about is we need to stretch for. Damn it, I would have took Justine Passat over Michaela Timpson. Michaela Timpson, they don't guard that girl on offense. I'm sorry. We like KK. I would have rather seen Justine Passat get a chance to play. When Michaela Timpson is out there, they don't guard her. They don't stand next to her. We needed an actual stretch for, and Justine Passat could have been perfect next to Caitlin Clark.
Even though we all know it won't, this is what ought to happen next. The general manager of the Fever, Amber Cox, need to be forced to respond to some very straight questions on this choice rather than softball ones like planning ahead or having faith in the process. There are serious concerns about why a young athlete with obvious WNBA skill was never given a chance to demonstrate it. Why did Paisu not make an appearance in the regular season rotation? Why did she play basketball for only 3 minutes during the preseason? What is the real basketball justification for retaining Damaris Dantas instead of a younger player that would be a better match for your team's mainstay? These are not unreasonable questions. Any capable front office should be able to handle these fundamental accountability measures. However, we will not get their responses. We are going to have business speakers discuss challenging roster choices, appreciating veteran accomplishments, and having faith in our process. While the front staff congratulates itself on being responsible and wise, Caitlin Clark will spend another season attempting to lead a badly assembled group to the postseason.
Officially staying with the Las Vegas Aces. Amber Cox, Stephanie White, you guys are pure bozos. Get down in the comments. Let me know what you think. This Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share.
Let us now complete the circle by discussing the true meaning of the Justine Paisu scenario. There is more to this than a single roster change. This relates to the philosophy of organizations. The question at hand is whether the Indiana Fever is serious about winning a title or whether they are happy to always lose in the first round and sell tickets, because Caitlin Clark is a must-see on television, because this is a hard reality that followers of Fever must face. Whatever lineup you put around Caitlin Clark, she is going to be fantastic. She has such skill. She will put up amazing statistics. She will sell out venues. Both casual followers and ardent admirers will be making appointments to see her. The issue is whether the front management will squander her peak years with subpar roster creation or provide her with the supporting funds she needs to really win championships. As of right moment, every piece of evidence suggests the latter. The most recent example is the piss ruling. Instead of making the difficult choice to let go of a veteran who is not making an impact, they decided to let go of a young, gifted player who complemented their greatest player skill set. It is not championship thinking. That is not even thinking about the playoffs. The basketball counterpart, we have always done this way. So why change now as organizational inertia? The worst thing is that this was totally preventable. At any time, the Fever could have elevated Pissett to the regular roster. They could have waived Brianna Stewart, Courtney Vanderloot, or Dantis. They had choices. They decided not to use any of them. They are now suffering as a result of their decision to maintain the status quo. Consider this from Caitlin Clark's point of view. In women's basketball, you are the biggest star. You recently had one of the most outstanding rookie campaigns in WNBA history. Your front office's major offseason decision was to let a fantastic complementing player go to the reigning champs, so they could retain a 32-year-old backup center who averages 3 points per game. You essentially carried a club to prominence by yourself. How can it not raise doubts about this organization's commitment to success? How can it not make you question if you will be attempting to overcome front office incompetence for the rest of your prime? These are the inquiries that prompt players to ask for trades. These are the questions that cause key members of a team to depart in free agency. The Fever will discover what happens when generational brilliance becomes weary of bearing organizational dysfunction if they do not start making better choices. With just time piss, the Aces knew what they were getting.